So this is our last video on complex numbers. We are going to tackle dividing complex numbers. So our example is 1 minus 3i divided by 4 plus I. So the first thing we want to do is write this as a fraction. So I'm going to have 1 minus 3i in the numerator and 4 plus I in the denominator. And like I said in the last video, we want to try to make our imaginary numbers into real numbers. We know what fractions represent. They represent parts of a whole that has been divided into, in this case, 4 plus I parts. But in order to make sense of this, we want to know the size of each part of the fraction in real number terms. And the way we can turn this into a real number is by multiplying by its conjugate. That's why we've learned about conjugates. But if we multiply the denominator, in order to keep this expression equal, we also need to multiply our numerator. So we end up multiplying a whole lot of things in order to make this division happen. So I'm first going to multiply the numerator, then we'll multiply the denominator. So down here, we have in our numerator 1 minus 3i, and this factor we're multiplying is 4 minus I. So we have 4 times 1 is 4. Why am I doing this? Take a moment, pause the video, see if you can complete it yourself, and then we'll pick up when you finish. Probably you're ahead of me by now, but 4 times negative 3 is negative 12i. Negative I times 1 is negative I, and negative I times negative 3i is positive 3i squared. But what happens to this? I squared is negative 1, so that whole thing just becomes negative 3. So if we combine our like terms, we have 4 and negative 3. Going back up to the original is just 1. And then negative 12i minus I would be negative 13i. So that takes care of our numerator. Now we have to do the same thing with our denominator. So take a moment, write this out, and see if you can finish it before I can. So 4 plus I, 4 minus I. 4 times 4 is 16. 4 times I is 4i. Negative I times 4 is negative 4i. So these I know cancel out. And then negative I times positive I is negative I squared, which becomes negative 1 times negative 1. So that's positive 1. And 16 plus 1 is 17. So some people are fine just leaving this where it is. But technically speaking, we should put our final answer in standard form. So rather than keeping it as 1 minus 17i over, 1 minus 13i over 17, I'm going to separate it into two fractions. So our real part is 1 over 17, and our imaginary part is minus 13 over 17 times I. And now we've been able to successfully divide our two original complex numbers by using the power of complex conjugates and multiplying fractions. And that is how we divide our complex numbers.